Hello and welcome to episode 21 of Situational Awareness Matters radio show. I'm your host, Rich Gasaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who are working in high-risk, high-consequence environments. The SAMatters mission is simple, to help you see the bad things coming and time to avoid bad outcomes. I have a great interview coming up, so stay tuned for that. But before I introduce our guest, I'm uber excited to share with you an announcement about some really valuable features that are going to be added for your benefit to the Situational Awareness Matters community. First, as many of you know, about a year ago I launched the Situational Awareness Matters online academy. The feedback from the students was awesome, and I've taken your great ideas and rolled them all together into an updated version of the academy. One of the features that will allow a department to enroll the entire membership in the academy. Previously, only enrollment option was available was for individuals. We're adding more video content and more audio content. The academy is the most affordable way to get your entire department dialed in on the critical skills of developing and maintaining situational awareness while working in high-risk, high-consequence environments. So watch for the announcement about the new academy on the SAMatters website. The current SAMatters website has a free membership where visitors can opt in and receive a monthly newsletter. And thank you to the more than 3,000 visitors who have signed up for that free service. We're going to up the game, though, to grow our community. Coming soon, new members will receive a free 90-day class that teaches the fundamentals of situational awareness. This class previously sold for $99, and it's now going to be given away to new members for free who opt in to the website membership. Current members will continue to receive the free newsletter, and coming soon, however, we're going to introduce a premium membership. And I'm really excited about this. For an annual fee of $108, that's only $9 a month, premium members are going to receive monthly situational awareness audio and video messages, free audio downloads of the blog articles that they can listen to on the fly, free transcripts of the podcast radio show like the one you're listening to now, so you can reference the podcast show and its content in your teachings, exclusive content in the monthly newsletter, significant discounts on books and videos on the website, ongoing discounts on the academy tuition, free webinars, free access to an online mastermind forum, free teleseminars, access to my course outlines, access to exclusive interviews with thought leaders in health and safety, and, oh, is this cool? We're working on the technology that is going to allow premium members to sign up for and attend selective live classroom programs via streaming video or audio link up. All this for $9 a month. Watch the website for announcements because I'm going to roll it out with a really good deal for our premium members that will give you a discount to the online academy. We've been working really hard and listening to your great feedback about how to add value for our community and increase the ways that you can improve your situational awareness. Watch for these exciting changes coming up on Situational Awareness Matters. On this episode, I interview Sean Balantic. After serving 6 years active duty as a United States Marine, Sean served as a federal firefighter prior to being employed by the Rochester, New York Fire Department, where he has served for almost 7 years. Sean is assigned as a firefighter on Truck 3. In this interview, Sean shares his close call survivor story where he was struck by a car at an incident scene and has been off work for nearly 3 months. The lessons you'll learn include: Sean had all his PPE on and reflective trim showing. The fire apparatus had all of its warning lights on, and yet the driver seemingly did not see the firefighter. How important it is to be cautious of civilian vehicles while operating on roadway surfaces. And while Sean believed he had strong situational awareness, he was still struck by the vehicle. How surprised he was at how the stress of being hit by the vehicle threw off his mental capabilities and impacted his rational judgment and decision making. And we'll do a review of some of the potential reasons why a person driving a vehicle may not see you. Some of them are obvious, like distracted or fatigued or texting or impaired. But what if a person was blind? What if the driver was blind? Blind? Yes, blind. This episode will explain how a driver can be blinded by something we do all the time at incident scenes. So let's get into our interview with Sean. On June 2nd, 2014, while on an emergency scene, Sean was removing a pike pole from the rear of his truck when a car came from the front of the vehicle to the rear of the vehicle, moving very quickly toward him. Using what he termed good situational awareness, he anticipated and saw the car. As soon as the car cleared the rear bumper of the apparatus, however, it struck Sean. Sean had been out of work for a little over 2 months now with a lower back and hip problems. Even though he was struck, he believed he had good situational awareness and it prevented the incident from being much worse than it was. As Sean noted, while he may have had good situational awareness, you still might not see bad things coming.
The day I was struck by the car was June 2nd. We went into work. We worked nights that particular day. It was a very typical day. We have a somewhat new guy, so we were getting ready to do some training with him. We were making dinner. We got a call for a smoke detector going off in a neighbor's house. So we responded. The call location was on the left-hand side of the street. So per our protocols, the driver of the truck pulled to the left side, so he was parked into traffic on the residential street. He parked the truck, and we got out. My job that night was to bring in a 6-foot pike pole. The other members of the crew went up to the house. I walked to the rear of the fire truck. The pike pole I was getting out is a 6-foot steel pike pole. It lays horizontal on the officer's side on the rear of the truck. So when I approached the rear of the truck, I grabbed the pike pole with my right hand. As I was pulling it out, I noticed a car coming from the front of the fire truck to the rear, and I thought that car was going awfully quickly. By the time I was able to pull the pike pole out and I set it on the ground, the car was just about at the rear of the truck. So I turned to face the car. As he passed by me, or the person, I don't know if it was a male or a female driver, as the person passed by, I pivoted at my hip to keep the car in front of me. As soon as the car was just past the fire truck, they came over and into me. I'm assuming they didn't see me, or at least I'm hoping they didn't see me. They knocked me back. Luckily I didn't fall or lose consciousness or anything. They then ran over the pike pole, which came around and struck my left thigh. My first instinct was to throw the pike pole at the car, and to represent how fast they were going, I picked the pike pole up and I thought, I can't throw this pike pole that far. So that's how fast the driver had managed to continue down the street. It was then that I kind of rocked forward onto my left leg, and then all the pain came, and really that was the only thing that consumed me after that was the very, very big Charlie horse I now had on my left leg. I approached my officer up at the house as I was limping, and he asked me what was wrong, and I told him that I had just gotten hit by a car, and as I would imagine, he was in a little disbelief, and he was like, "Really?" And I said, yeah, I just got hit by a car going by. And so he had me sit on the back of the fire truck. He called it into the dispatcher. He handled it like a 20-year lieutenant, and he had another unit come to respond to take care of the incident we were at, which turned out to luckily be a malfunctioning smoke detector. He got the ambulance to come, the chief, our safety officer. He put everything in motion, and after that, everybody else really took good care of me, trying to help me and track down whoever it was that struck me. And unfortunately, in the almost 3 months since then, we have yet to find out who did it.
You said they didn't see you.
I'm hoping.
This was daytime?
No, it was 9 o'clock at night.
Was it dark?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I had all of my PPE on, very reflective in the green reflective. I had my air pack on, which once I was struck really didn't help me being pivoted. But the fire truck was very lit up with all of its lights still on, all of its warning beacons. I was very well illuminated with my reflective tape, and I think the person was just very concentrating on wherever they were going and didn't really slow down very much at all.
Was this a 2-lane road?
Yes, it's a very narrow 2-lane residential.
And what would be the normal speed limit on that street, if you know it?
It's 25.
And how fast do you think they were going?
I think closer to 30, 35. I've kind of have been doing some unofficial speed experiments to see if I can figure out how far. And the closest we can get is about 30, 35.
Mm-hmm. And what first alerted you to the car coming? Was it the headlights, or did you see the car itself?
The headlights. When I was pulling the pike pole out with my right hand, so I wasn't further in traffic, I was still behind the truck very much so. As I had stated before, I tried to keep good situational awareness. So as soon as I grabbed the pole, I looked and I saw the car coming from towards us, and attempted to keep it in view the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Well, would it be fair to say, because you have a heightened level of vigilance about your awareness, that I don't want to put the answer in your mind, but when you are on the roadway surface around a vehicle, are you of the mindset that there might always be a car in your proximity, and therefore you need to be alert of that? Or will you just maybe in this instance luck was on your side, that you just happened to be looking in the direction of the headlights? What was your mindset there?
I absolutely always try to maintain the good situational awareness, well, especially on the street. I'm very well known to my boss to park the rig when I'm driving to help block traffic. I'm very cautious on the city streets, and that's why when I was pulling the pike pole out, I pulled it specifically with my right hand, because that keeps me more behind the fire truck. I intentionally looked to the side of the fire truck for traffic and saw the car coming. I intentionally, when the car was coming, I turned to look at it. People have asked me, well, why didn't you just walk to the sidewalk and get out of the way? When a car is kind of driving at you, you don't turn your back to it. So mm-hmm. I very much try to consciously keep a good awareness of what is going on.
Well, if this car was going 30 to 35 miles an hour and you only got a glimpse of its headlights before it was upon you, for someone to say, well, why didn't you just get out of the way? That really is almost a split-second decision about what you're going to do, whether you're going to stand and defend your position or try to swivel or pivot or jump out of the way. You didn't have much time to really, analyze and think about this, did you?
I did not at all. None. In fact, I don't even really remember consciously making the decision to turn and look at the car and keep the car in front of me. I was only able to remember what I did and guess, well, this is what would have been going through my mind at such a fast-paced situation. I was amazed about how after the car hit me, it really was able to throw me off and throw my mental capacity off. It was much more difficult to clearly think once you've been hit by a car, I guess.
Yeah, there are some very significant things that happen under stress, and when you get hit by a vehicle like that, your ability to rationalize and think things through and to have clear thought really does become impacted. And I'll share with you, Sean, most of the listeners don't know this, so I'm going to be doing the self-reveal here. I flipped my car a couple of years ago. I had a lady pull out in front of me, and it was relatively low speed. We were only doing about 20 miles an hour, but she didn't see me, and I didn't expect her to just, out of the blue, just pull in front of me. And she pulled in front of me, and I had a choice. I could swerve left into oncoming traffic, and that didn't seem like a good idea. I could rear-end her, and then that might push her into oncoming traffic, and that might not seem like a good idea. Or I could swerve right and just run off the roadway. And, again, all this is kind of like split-second decision-making here. I'm slowing it way down as to what really happened because it really was kind of, knee-jerk as to what I did. But I decided I would swerve right. And when I swerved right here in Minnesota, it was wintertime, and the snow had been piled up on the side of the road. So the snow on the side of the road was probably 3 to 4 feet high on the side of the road. And I had thought, well, I'll just run into the snow. The worst thing that can happen is I'll have to get a tow truck to come pull my vehicle out of the snow if I can't, back it out when this is all done. So I swerved to the right, and instead of running into the snow, my vehicle ran up the snow. The snow was frozen solid, and I ran up the snow, and as it ran up the snow, the car literally just rolled over on its roof. And so there I was, kind of sliding down the road, my car on its roof. I had my seatbelt on. I wasn't hurt. And there's the point of all this is when the vehicle came to a stop and I got out of the vehicle, I'm still in the roadway. And I'm like, well, I need to call 911 and, get the cops here. I wasn't injured. The lady just kept on driving. She didn't even know that she had pulled out in front of me. I couldn't figure out how to unlock my phone. My phone is passworded with like a 4-digit code.
Yep.
And I was under so much stress and so many hormones and neurotransmitters were coursing through my veins, I couldn't even think how to unlock my phone. And after you try 3 times, then it locks up your phone. So I locked up my phone. Then I had to wait for my phone to unlock, and I was so frustrated with myself thinking, Rich, you teach this stuff. Just keep calm. Unlock your phone and call 911. And I couldn't do it. Somebody passing by had to stop and say, are you okay? And I say, yeah, can you call 911 and have the cops come to, because I'm sitting in the middle of the roadway here on my roof and somebody's going to hit me. But, I was the same way as you. I lost my faculties.
Yes. It was surprising. I like you were surprised at how much it impacts you. I was very surprised by how much it really throws your mental game off.
Oh, it does. It so much does. Now, I want to kind of come back to this surprising thing that this person didn't see you. The truck lights were on.
Yes.
You had your gear on.
Yes.
Your gear has reflective trim on it.
Yes.
And short of the person, if we go through for the benefit of the listener, the potential scenarios as to why this person just didn't see you. One might be that they were impaired, drugs or alcohol.
Right.
Potentially. We don't know. They didn't stop, so we definitely don't know.
Yeah.
2, they might have been distracted by texting on a cell phone. Okay.
True.
And not paying attention. 3, they might have been distracted while they were talking on a cell phone. And when you're talking on a cell phone, you do lose some of your ability to take in the clues around you because a lot of your brain capacity is being used processing the telephone conversation that you're having. So that could have been the case. They could have been fatigued and perhaps veered off as they might have nodded off. Let's see what else might. They could have been having a medical condition, which caused them momentarily, say like a hypoglycemic case of a diabetic, and what I'm trying to do is throw out all these possible scenarios to have others that are like you on the roadway surface just think about how many different ways or things that can be happening that could keep somebody from seeing you, right?
Definitely. And
the one way that I teach some classes on situational awareness, and one of the things I like to do in my classes, kind of becoming like the hallmark of my classes, is I like to do demonstrations. And I'll talk about a particular situational awareness barrier, and then I'll say, okay, now let's demonstrate how this happens and see if we can make it happen here in the classroom. And so one of the demonstrations that I do is I will tell somebody in the classroom that I'm going to make them go blind right in front of everybody. So I say, I'm going to bring you up here. I'm going to tell you that I'm going to make you go blind. Then I'm going to do something and make you go blind. And then you're not going to be able to see things that are happening right in front of you. And, of course, they're skeptical of the fact that I could do this. And they wonder, how can you do this? And it's like, is this magic? Oh, it's not magic. It's neuroscience. I take what I've learned in my studies of neuroscience, and I try to bring them into the classroom for the benefit of firefighters to allow you to see the way the brain can be tricked into certain things happening. And this particular one is a form of blindness that occurs from motion. So what I do is I create an environment where there's a lot of motion and a lot of movement and a lot of activity around the person, and lo and behold, they stop seeing some of the things that are happening in the environment around them. And then I'll ask them, were you blind? And they'll say, no, I wasn't blind. And then I'll ask the audience, well, were they blind? Well, yeah, they were blind. They didn't see what was going on. And then I'll ask the person again, were you blind? No. Audience, were they blind? Oh, absolutely, they were blind. And the lesson of this is they're blind and they don't even know that they're blind to what's happening in front of them. And the reason I want to share this is because I want to share for you and for all the listeners a very powerful lesson that is contributing to near misses and injury accidents on roadway surfaces. And that is that when the brain can only take so much input, and after that it just can't take anymore. It gets saturated. And every flash of a flashing light is input. So you figure a person is driving down the roadway and in front of them is a vehicle with flashing lights. And every flash of the light, every reflection of that light off of something else, off of another vehicle, something shiny, off of the windows of a house, off of reflective gear. So you have all these secondary flashes and movement around them. And it can get to the point where the brain gets overloaded and overwhelmed from all that movement that it's trying to make sense out of. Every flash of light being a piece of information coming into the brain. And it gets to the point where it says, I can't take it anymore. And when that happens, sensory input starts to shut down, and a person actually will go blind to some of the things that are in their field of vision. And it is very likely that if the lights were on this truck and this person was coming toward your vehicle, that if this phenomena were occurring, they could have had sensory overload and part of their visual field would have shut down, and therefore they would not have seen you. It wasn't because they weren't looking, and It wasn't because they were impaired or they were fatigued or they were in a hurry. They were literally blind to what was right in front of them, and they didn't even know it. Now, as I tell people this can happen, they're always skeptical. Oh, it's hogwash.
Right.
But then when I do the demonstration and make it happen with a firefighter in a classroom, they're amazed. Now, what would you think if I told you that this person could have been suffering from visual sensory overload, been completely paying attention? It's a 50-year-old grandma on her way home from bingo. I don't know, 50, maybe 60-year-old grandma on her way home from bingo. Very attentive, wasn't texting, wasn't impaired, but yet simply was blind to your presence. How would you look at roadway incidents and people driving down the roadway differently if you had that knowledge?
Definitely. I would definitely think that along those lines, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, think about people that, on highway incidents, the people that drive their vehicles directly into the back of a fire truck, and they're not impaired. Yeah, or they hit a firefighter on the interstate who's wearing their full protective gear with reflective trim, and the person will say, "I didn't see him. I just didn't see him."
Right.
And you wonder, how could they not? They must have been texting, or they must have been impaired, or they must have been fatigued, or they must have been looking away. Because if you're looking right at something or someone wearing reflective gear standing right in front of them, surely you're going to see them, right? No, not at all. And I can demonstrate this. I mean, I do it 3, 4, 5 times a month in these programs, and the firefighters that are and medical personnel and the police officers in there are absolutely dumbfounded because they think that there are all these really great explanations as to why people are hitting us, and they all have to do with that person being impaired or distracted or not paying attention, dumb, whatever. And it could be that the fact that the person is just blind or blinded by motion.
That'd be a
powerful, huh?
Be a tough one to try to resolve, finding the happy medium between not overloading the people coming at you, but yet maintaining warning.
Oh, right, absolutely. The lesson isn't turn off all your lights.
Right, definitely.
The lesson is that if your lights are on, simply know that a person can become visually overloaded from the movement of the lights and therefore may be blinded to some of the things in their field of vision. So simply, the easy lesson here is don't assume ever that because you're well lit up at a scene and you're well provisioned in your reflective gear that the person will see you, because that's a fallacy.
True. I completely agree.
Now, what did your department do after this? Did they try to evaluate how it happened, make any recommendations, share the lessons with the others in the department? What were some of the things that occurred following this?
Actually, they have been holding off because it's an active investigation by the police department. They didn't want to make any assumptions on what did or didn't transpire, but they did issue a general statement of what happened and try to be much more aware of what's going on, especially when in the street or on the roadway. I believe that something more will occur once I have been cleared to come back to work, and maybe the investigation has wound down.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've been off work with an injury related to this?
Yes, I when I was struck, I was twisted at my waist to my limit, my range of motion, and when the car came over and struck me, it pushed me further than that my normal range of motion. My air pack being on helped offset my center of gravity, which hurt it even more, and I sprained and strained all the muscles in my pelvic area, mostly on my left-hand side, and that is what is trying to heal up now. I've been going back to the doctor and seeing a chiropractor for it, trying to get everything lined back up properly, but I still have some muscles that aren't healing properly, or as well as the doctor would like to see them, so they're sending me to orthopedic very soon. So it's a long, tedious process of healing.
So you've been off work a couple of months.
Yes, almost 3 months. In September, it will be 3 months.
What lessons would you want to share with anybody listening to the podcast? What advice would you have for them?
My biggest thing that I have taken away from this, far and away, is even though I'm big on situational awareness and try to, in your words, capture all the cues and clues of the situation and make sense of those and then project into the future what might happen, somebody else's wrong could just overwhelm everything that you have right and come and make a catastrophe of the situation. Too many times I've seen people think that their own knowledge or experience will overrule anything that they may be up against. And too often I think that something happens that just no matter what you try to do, you can't overwhelm that. Like in my situation, I had a car come and hit me. I saw the car. It was just moving too fast. It was so big and weighed so much that when it hit me, it overcame everything that I had right. All my situational awareness just helped me minimize the adverse effects to it. Another very stark reminder of how times something can overwhelm your situational awareness and go bad is that right now my children are playing at a splash park that is a commemorative to the firefighters that were shot at in West Webster, right outside of Rochester, New York, on December 24th, 2012. I'm sure that they had good situational awareness for the call that they were responding to. They had their ducks in a line, but unfortunately somebody shot at them, and that was just so overwhelming that it had the adverse consequences that it did.
Yeah, sometimes you're just not gonna see the bad things coming. I had been contacted by a national media agency, and they asked me about that incident in West Webster and what those firefighters could have done to prevent it. And I said, sometimes you just can't see bad things coming. Who of us as responders ever anticipates that there's going to be somebody laying in the bushes with an assault rifle ready to sniper us when we arrive? If we responded to every call with that degree of vigilance, we would be ineffective. I mean, we literally could not function with that level of anticipation of bad outcomes. So you're right that there's just some things that we're challenged with being able to anticipate those things, because some of those things are dependent on the behaviors of other people.
Correct. Yeah. Sometimes our situational awareness can only help us minimize adverse effects and not prevent them.
All right, Sean. Well, thank you for giving me the gift of some of your time this afternoon. I appreciate you sharing your close call survivor story. It hopefully what comes of this is that your story will help others be safer. And what a gift it is that if a responder listens to this and then says, harken back to that lesson that I heard that firefighter talk about when he pulled that pike pole off that truck, and if circumstances were just slightly different, you might not have been here to be able to share this lesson with us. So thank you.
Very true. thank you very much.
Well, that's it. Episode 21 is complete. Thank you, Sean, for sharing your incredible close call survivor story. If you've experienced or witnessed a near miss and would like to be interviewed on this show, please visit my companion site, closecallsurvivor.com, and click on the Contact Us link. Thank you in advance for sharing your lessons learned so others may live. Thank you for sharing some of your valuable time with me today, too, to listen to this episode. I sincerely appreciate your support of the SAMatters mission. If you like the show, please go to iTunes and search for SAMatters Radio and subscribe to the podcast and leave your feedback and a 5-star review. This is very important to me, and it helps others find the show. You can also sign up for the free SAMatters monthly newsletter by visiting SAMatters.com and clicking on the red box on the right side of the homepage. And remember, be watching for the SAMatters.com announcements of the changes that I spoke to you about at the beginning of this podcast. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gasaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit SAMatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gasaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgasaway.com.